Now, if you thought it couldn't get any worse for controversies that surround Philippine basketball, boy, do we have a good one for you. Now, game fixing one game is one thing, missing a couple of free throws might be another, being involved in, again, just one particular instance where you missed a 3-ball here, you missed a layup there, and so on and so forth. That might be all well and good because that puts you under speculation. It's not really something that can be proven right away. But when you do it for consecutive games, that really raises a major red flag. And the character that we're going to talk about in this one was really, in my opinion at the time and when I heard about it, what you would call in law enforcement as an open and shut case. If you follow the Philippine Basketball Association, you'll know who I'm talking about. The man in question here is none other than Mark Barroca, the former Gila standout. Prior to him being the PBA star that he is now, was embroiled in a major controversy where, again, at the start of this video, I just mentioned it, was more or less an open shut case. So you got a guy, bear with me here, because FEU has a very good program of producing top flight guards, C.R.R. Garcia and Terrence Romeo #2. And Mark Barroca was actually a very good point guard back in his days at FEU. But you might be wondering, how come you've never really seen Mark Barroca play for the UAAP? That's because in one of the seasons for Mark Barroca, he averaged right around 12, maybe 15 points a game. He was that good. Explosive guard, can shoot from anywhere, has a floater that's nearly unblockable, and again, feisty point guard at that. However, in this particular season, Mark Barroca went from averaging 12 to 15 points a game to 4 points a game. Now, as these games, he averaged this for about 3 games straight. And afterwards, FEU Tamaraw, who in one of our previous episodes that we talked about with Mac Baracael, who was a former FEU Tamaraw, Mark Barroca now is embroiled in another controversy regarding, you guessed it, point shaving. The investigation goes on, and as the story goes, Mark Barroca would deny any allegations towards this, but then again, the UAAP put its foot down and said, no, you're never going to play another game in this league. And that definitely affected Mark Barroca's stock. Not a lot of people during that time pegged him to even be a part of the PBA draft, let alone even if he was going to be a part of the PBA draft, would any team even risk drafting somebody that actually took an offer to shave points? Again, when you go from 12 to 15, and it's not like the competition was getting any feistier and better at the time, because there were no elite defensive guards coming up in the UAAP, Mark Barroca was an offensive force all on his own at that time. He was ahead of his time, to say the very least. You go from 12 to 15 to 4, and the offenses and the keys to the Cadillac, as I like to say, were in your possession? You go from 15 to 4? That's hard to believe. And the games that they were playing, or the opponents that they were playing, weren't even that top caliber. Which begs the question, what in the hell happened? Was he injured? Negative. There were no reports that Mark Barroca suffered an injury. Well, what was he going through something? Apparently what he was going through was that, again, he was in on a deal for point shaving. And Mark Barroca still, though, despite that controversy, would go on to have a very lucrative career in the PBA, and we believe now he's still even playing. Whether or not they were guilty, whether or not these characters that we've been talking about are guilty or not, they seem to find a way, and that's good, because they seem to find a way to stay relevant in the sport that they love playing, from Mac Baracael, Carlos Astimosa, and now Mark Barroca. So Mark Barroca, I believe, has somehow redeemed himself from this issue, because it was a long one. This was buried way under the rug, or deep under the rug, to make sure that his character remains intact. He's a very good player, and to say the least, this is one that he probably has already put way behind him in the rearview mirror. This has been Jaff from GT Sports. We'll see you in the next one.